really exciting.
Hello!
Hi! How are you?
I'm wonderful, all things considering.
Yes, yes. I mean, there's so much excitement and so much energy around this bundle with all of us and all the people watching. It's so energetic.
I know, it's probably my favorite time of year, honestly. Like, I love connecting with people like you and with the people watching. It's just so, like, I love the community aspect of the bundle. And also, I mean, it's like such an amazing deal, let's be honest. It's like
Yeah,
the best deal possible.
I agree. This is, um, I don't know. So far, so I've been in a couple different bundles, and this so far is my favorite one. And I really love, like, all the contributors are just like, there's really a camaraderie and a really great connection. And I love that, anyone purchasing the bundle, which if you haven't yet, you definitely need to go do that now before March 10th, guys, because then it will never be available again. Not this one. But they have they're going to get all of the items in the bundle, but they're also getting access to us. They're connecting with us in a way, and they can connect with us on social media. And if they have questions about the bundle or our contribution, they can DM us. And I love that about the bundle too. It's like having that community, especially if you're trying to transition. Like when I was trying to transition, I didn't know anyone that was vegan or plant-based or raw or anything like that. And so like I still don't really have a community. My husband is vegan as well, but other than that, no one else in our life. So it's really nice to have this community, even if it's online.
Totally. And community is such a big part. And because we don't all have access to vegan friends or what have you in real life, it's so nice to have. I still believe that, the friends in the phone are still good friends to have, right? Like, especially when we can see each other and talk,
Yeah.
right? It's still better than not having any friends to talk to. So it's really, really important. And thank you for having me on your live. This is going to be a fun one.
Yes, thanks for joining. So I definitely want to talk more about the bundle and more about your contributions, but I wanted to see if you would be willing to give us a little like insight into your world of how you became raw vegan, and like, were you trying to heal something, or was just, how it came about?
Yes, thanks for asking. I haven't really told my story much this week, so this is nice. So I discovered raw food in, like around 2004. And I was exposed to the high fat, low carb version. And so every time, yeah, I know most of us, right? And I was working in natural health, and I was dealing with candida and gut issues, and I had cystic acne all over, really painful. I would have super erratic periods. Like sometimes I'd go 9 months without one. It was usually 3 to 9 months. Wow. I would, have them. Super erratic, and just like, I just wasn't healthy, even though I worked in a health food store. And, I took herbs and I took oils and supplements and probiotics, and I had access to tons of free stuff, and I did cleanse kits and detoxes and fasts, and I did a lot in my 20s and my early 30s.
So you've always been interested in that world,
yeah,
kind of from a young age.
Mm-hmm. Since the age of 19, I would say, I've been really into it. And then at like 21, 22, that's when I started working in the natural health industry. So I was like a nutritional consultant. I learned a lot of stuff, but I never, like, I implemented just the surfacey things or the Band-Aid things, right?
Yeah.
I never changed the foundation of what I was putting in my body. And then I would hip hop like over different diets. Like I would do, and I never had the vegan connection. That wasn't until I went raw in 2014. But, I would go raw vegan, but sometimes I wouldn't be vegan. I'd just be a raw foodie, and I would do raw animal products. So I did that whole Weston Price thing. I did a lot of different diets. I did the mucusless thing for a little while. I did different stuff, right? To try and figure out what was wrong with me. So the main issue that I had was gut issues and skin health. And, my weight was quite high and I had tons of cravings, but mostly it was the gut health and the candida issues. So I was diagnosed with candida overgrowth, and she had me on herbs and pills, and I would do anti-candida kit diets and everything. And it just wasn't working really. Like my symptoms would subside a bit, but I'd be so restrictive. I wouldn't be enjoying my life. And, like things would creep back in and symptoms would come back. And I was just like, if I have to restrict so much to have health, like it wasn't worth it to me in a way.
It wasn't sustainable at the time,
Yeah,
right?
it wasn't sustainable at all. So I learned raw in 2004, and every time I tried the eating high fat, low calorie, because I was stuck in diet culture, so I, eat less to lose weight. I really didn't eat a lot of fruit. I didn't really eat big salads. It was mostly like fats, oils, that kind of thing. And I'd fall off, and then I'd go back. I'd be like, maybe raw isn't for me, and I'd be eating eggs again or whatever. But in 2014, I hit kind of rock bottom with my health. I had these heart flutters that would wake me up almost every night. I'd feel like I was having a heart attack. My joint pain was insane. Like my cystic acne was horrible, and my gut problems were just so horrible. So I decided, I was like, I'm going to try raw again. My ex at the time was like rolling his eyes, like, are you going to do it again? Yeah, it's going to last like 3 days. So, but this time I was trying to figure out what was it that was not working for me. And I decided to try the low fat, high carb way and eat enough. I learned really quickly that I had to eat enough because I wasn't eating a lot of fats, so I had to compensate with more fruits and vegetables and stuff like that. So I did that, and it was like so easy. I'm like, this is awesome. Like, why did I never try it this way before? And when I went raw in 2014, I watched Cowspiracy, Earthlings, and Forks Over Knives. I was vegan overnight. So that's when I hit the vegan connection and I became vegan, but I chose raw for my health because I assumed most vegans ate raw food anyway, right? I was like, that's probably what they're eating.
Right.
I didn't go right into vegan or cooked vegan or anything like that. I just went right into raw. And yeah, I lost 70 pounds the first year and a half-ish.
Wow.
My cystic acne cleared up, my periods balanced, and I've had a monthly period ever since, like 8 months into raw. My joint pain went away, my mood stabilized, my sleep improved, like my skin just like, I just love my gut health. Oh my gosh, my gut health. I'm just so happy. My candida went away on its own because I was feeding my own gut bacteria that they fought it off by themselves. So it was really just about being consistent. And I wasn't doing it for weight loss. I wasn't doing it to get rid of my candida. I wasn't doing it to get rid of my acne. I was doing it because I believed in it and I wanted to eat raw food. So I wasn't scared of cooked food or I wasn't scared of whatever, I just wanted to eat raw food and I wanted to eat an abundance and a variety of it. And I think coming into it with that kind of a mindset really helped me to want to keep going and to want to share with others as well. So that's in a nutshell my story.
Oh, that's awesome. I mean, thank you for sharing that. I think I kind of came into it vegan, plant-based, and now raw. I came into it sort of a totally different, like I was like, I have all these health issues. I'm going to try everything just to get rid of the health issues and give up and try and give up and be told this. And then it wasn't until, but I mean, I guess it was, no, you're right. Actually, it was still, I had to get into that mindset of just like, I'm going to give this like a really like fair shot. I really believe in it. I really think that this, has some power to it. And like, it was crazy. It was like off 8 prescriptions, like all my symptoms gone, like what? And then now eating more raw foods, I'm noticing even more. So I'm not fully raw, but I've been almost completely raw. Well, I've tried it in the past, and like I was eating high fats. I was trying to sustain on like nuts and seeds and butters. And I was just like, this is impossible. Like some of it was delicious, but it's like, this is impossible. And it was like all the gourmet raw stuff, which I was just like, I'm not a cook. I'm not a chef. I don't actually enjoy being in the kitchen. I just really like knowing what goes into my body. And I like eating a lot.
Yeah, me too.
But, yeah. But it's, that wasn't sustainable and it was not making me feel better. So it wasn't until like learning from you and Nate and like a whole bunch of the raw foodies that I was like, okay, I need to really eat like a lot. I need to be focusing on the fiber and like the shiny bright foods.
Yes, the colors. Yeah, we got to focus on fruits and vegetables and sprouts and greens, right? Those are like the bulk of what we eat. And then, the nuts and seeds are like, they're the accents.
Yeah. They add the little like flair to, you can add a little like cheese or a little, little sauces and stuff like that. They add to it, to the flavor, but it's really, like you said, it's the greens and the vegetables and the vibrant colors and the fruits, and it really does satiate you, right? Like you really don't feel like in the beginning, at least I don't know how it was for you, but in the beginning for me, I was like towards nighttime I would crave some cooked food because cooked food is can be addicting depending on, what it is. And I wasn't eating animal products when I transitioned to raw, um but they can still be addicting. There's still addicting qualities to it, right? But you don't feel hungry. It's just like a craving. And so you just have to kind of get over that little hump. I mean, I don't know. How was it for you when you made that transition? Was it just totally all easy right off the bat, or?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I really learned a lot about cravings and hunger and all that kind of stuff, even just mostly in the last couple years, just like working with people and finding out working with habits as well. And I found that a lot of the cravings are reflections of our current habits. So when you're hungry, which is a totally natural signal, it's your body asking for fuel, cravings are like a symptom of hunger, right? For the most part, it's, hunger, peer pressure, tired, stress, whatever, right?
Emotional elements. Yeah.
Yeah. But the craving tends to be a reflection of our current habits and our frames of reference. The thing that kind of like was an aha moment for me was I was watching this one person who no longer was vegan, and they said they were craving oysters like crazy or whatever. And I was thinking to myself, I'm like, I've never had an oyster in my entire life, ever. So there's no possible way that I could ever crave one because I don't know what it tastes like. I've never had one. There's no reason why I would ever crave one. The only reason why somebody would be either because maybe a friend or family member is offering it and they're trying it for the first time or whatever. They might want to eat it, but that's not a craving. A craving is typically a reflection of what we choose, and we crave what, like you said, like stuff that tastes good and that we've had before and we've tried before and we're like, really like that. It was really stimulating. And I remember the dopamine I got from that and whatever, right? So we typically crave what we have a frame of reference for and what's habitual. So when I first started, of course I had cravings, and people ask me, they're like, when do the cravings go away? I'm like, honestly, cravings don't go away. They just change. And they change when you change your habits, because now when I have hunger, I default to raw food because I've been doing it for like a decade. So, I'm like, I really want like a tahini dill salad, or I'm craving a banana smoothie. And it's like an automatic default. And it's really interesting to recognize it because it wasn't like that when I first started. When I first started, I would immediately default to Chinese takeout because that was my thing, or bag of Doritos. I would really want those. And these were all foods that tasted amazing. And like you say, like they're really, really, they attract you hardcore.
Right.
But because I was eating them all the time, I naturally just wanted those. So for me, yeah, I had, the same battle in the beginning trying to deal with that. But again, the more you choose raw, and you've noticed this too, the more you choose it, the easier it gets. And, eventually it becomes your reality. And I found it's totally my reality. And I remember a couple of years ago, somebody was asking me like, oh, or telling me that they had muffins for breakfast or something. And I was like, I totally forgot that muffins were a thing.
Like I don't
You reminded me
anymore.
Yeah, but I used to eat them all the time. But
Yeah.
because they're not in my world and they're not in my frame of reference, over time, they slowly just disappeared. And I'm like, I don't really notice unless I go looking for it, or I'm like scrolling through social media and I'm like, oh yeah, bagels were a thing or whatever, like
Eat those.
Yeah.
That's it.
So,
That's it. I like that perspective, or I don't know if it's a perspective. It might be just how it is, and I just haven't looked at it that way. But I always thought like, oh, my cravings went away. Like I don't crave animal foods anymore, and I don't.
Yeah.
At all. But is it because there was a period of time? I mean, I think it's a mix, right? But it's also what have I been eating over these past 4 years, and not eating any of the animal products. Like I don't crave it anymore because it's just not in my world anymore. You know what I mean? Now I'm like, and I do actually crave like a salad. I'm not a salad person. I eat them almost every day because I know they're good for you, but I'll actually crave them now because I think my body's craving, you know, what it gives me, the nutrient, like how I feel and, you know, the nutrients that are in it. But it's not the same type of craving as, like you said, like a Dorito. It's not like that. It's not like I'm trying to get like a hit of
Yeah.
dopamine or serotonin or like that tradition or emotional attachment. It's like a different type of craving.
Mm-hmm. It's like a genuine natural desire and a genuine love for it because we know what it gives. But another thing too that I want to note is that a lot of cravings, when you shift your diet over to more high fiber, a lot of it is our gut microbiome. And when we're eating a lot of junk and animal products, we've got a lot of microbiome that like that kind of food. So it's easier to crave that based on our gut. And as we add more salads and more different vegetables and stuff, we grow a different kind of bacteria and they crave it too. They're like, give me more, I want more salad, right? So over time, our gut changes as well, which can help to change our cravings too.
Yeah, it's like we had a frat party in our stomach who just wants like chips and beer and whatever cake. And now we're pushing the frat out and we're bringing in, you know, this healthy raw community. And now they want greens. And
Exactly, exactly. Plus, I mean, on top of that, there comes all the emotions, right? Because we make choices based on emotion for the most part, right? Like we can make choices based on logic, but it's a lot harder to convince ourselves like this makes sense. I'm going to do this. Whereas, you know, you're like, I want to go to bed early tonight because I want to be healthy and go to bed early. And then in the moment, it's like, you know, 8:30 and you're like, I should go do my skincare and you're watching Netflix. You're like, one more episode, right? So we tend to choose in the moment. And I like to tell people, if you're having a craving or whatever, you want to stay up late or you don't want to go for your workout, put yourself in how you'll feel after you do the thing, right? We tend not to do that. We tend to want the thing and what we'll feel when we eat the thing or stay up late or whatever.
right.
But we don't always, like, we're not really taught to feel how we'll feel after. Like, how I always tell people, I'm like, name 5 things that you feel about yourself, not just in your body, but about yourself when you choose a big giant raw salad. How do you feel? And I get them to do 5 because it's hard to find 5, but things like feeling empowered, feeling like you're on track, feeling like you're in control, feeling proud of yourself. You know, like these kinds of things feel really good and we want these things. So if you actually like sometimes just close your eyes and feel like I am so excited to feel proud of myself or motivated or whatever after I choose the salad, then it's a little bit more motivating to go and do the salad instead because you're like, you want those things because we're reward driven creatures. Yeah. So if we can think of a reward after eating the salad, we can be more likely to do that because we already know we're not really like detriment creatures. Like we don't take like, oh, well, I'm going to feel like crap and I'm going to feel guilty and I'm going to feel all these things if I choose a pizza. That's not enough of a deterrent for us because we choose based on reward. So we either get the reward from the pizza or the reward from eating the salad. And that's really all it is.
Oh, that's really great. Tim had asked, how can I remove candida? I have it really bad. And I also want to piggyback on that question. Did you notice like the candida pretty much and the symptoms just go away like boom, or was it like 2-3 weeks? Like how? I'll let you answer.
You know, I don't even really have like a timeline on it. I've thought about it a lot, but I didn't really notice it going away because I wasn't even focused on it. So I feel like maybe it could have been months-ish, but I didn't take, I mean, I finished up like a couple bottles of probiotics that I had in the fridge. You know, I might have taken oregano oil a couple times. Like I was not regular with any of that kind of stuff because I was so focused on just making sure I ate enough and I ate variety. And I think just that alone fed my gut microbiome to the point that my own microbiome fought off the yeast for me. And it was a gradual change. Obviously, I had like, you know, gas still and bloating, you know, as I was transitioning over. So I just went with it because I already had gas and bloating. I was like, whatever. At least I'm eating better food that's giving me gas and bloating instead of bad food that's giving me gas and bloating. I was like, I'm just going to go run with it anyways. And so over time, though, as my gut improved, I noticed less and less gas and bloating, and I felt better in my gut. And then all of a sudden, I wasn't having yeast infections anymore. I wasn't having bladder infections anymore. I would have either a yeast or a bladder infection or a cold or a flu at least every month or two
Same.
before I went wrong. Yeah,
Oh my
I was
gosh.
like always sick,
Always.
always at the doctor, always taking something, right? Like,
Always on
yeah.
antibiotics, which does not help your
Yeah,
microbiome.
exactly. So I was always on something, always taking, medications or whatever for colds and flus and whatever. So, but when I went raw, I noticed that slowly over time, because my gut was changing, it was gradual. And I think a lot of people will be like, oh, well, I want it to change now. And we do want it to change now, but we have to give our bodies grace and we have to continue the support. Because a lot of people will do something for a couple weeks or a couple months and then just give up. When it's like, you got to keep going, you got to keep feeding them. And even after 9.5 years raw, because I'm coming up on my 10-year here in September, yeah, even after 9.5 years, I'm still growing my gut because it shows in my gut microbiome testing. Yeah. So every year my gut is going up and up and up. It's a slow process because, you're feeding colonies and colonies are changing and everything's changing in your gut. But over time, I could only imagine where my gut score was when I first started. Like, unfortunately, they didn't have gut testing back then, but I can only imagine where it was. And it's definitely changed even over the last just 3 years that we've been testing. And in January, I got my gut microbiome test back because we do it like twice a year. And my gut score was over 96% out of 100. And I've never seen anyone with that high of a gut test result of anyone that has tested before. So I'm like, well, I'm doing something right.
Yeah, I would say so. Someone's asking, oh, I wanted to actually say something on that. What was I going to say? Oh, I just lost it. It'll come back to me. Okay. But someone's asking, how long did it take for weight loss?
So yeah, I'm posting in the chat. It was 14 months and I lost about 70 pounds. But I didn't do it for weight loss and I don't do it for body image or whatever. I have shared like my before and afters in the past, but weight's going to fluctuate here and there through different stages of life and all that kind of stuff. So, but the initial period, I did lose 70 pounds in the first 14 months. So, and that just like melted off. And I was eating like 21 to 2,300 calories a day. I was just eating lots of food. I wasn't really exercising a lot. Like I'd go for hikes. Sometimes I'd go through bouts of weights where I'd just sit on the couch and I'd do like shoulder presses or whatever, like just random stuff. Sometimes I'd do like 100 squats. It takes like 3.5 minutes. But I wasn't consistent with anything. I wasn't really like focused on the weight loss because I had dealt with weight issues my whole life until then. And it just melted right off. And I was like, wow.
Yeah, when I went raw in January, I was eating a lot, like a lot. I don't know how many calories. I wasn't counting calories, but I was eating a lot till I was like full. And I was eating, chia and flax seeds and avocado and a few olives, and I lost 15 pounds of unwanted weight. So I was like, in 2 months.
Wow.
2.5 months, and I'm like, this is so cool. Like I get to eat all I want and not even have to count calories and not worry about it. And a lot of times I wasn't going to the gym at all. Like I haven't been to the gym in like a month because I got COVID and then the bundle was busy. But anyway, I haven't been to the gym and I still am like, oh, okay, my clothes are fitting nicer.
Yeah, exactly. And I know somebody in the chat was asking about like worried about losing it too fast. And that happens when you undereat. So I think like throughout my almost decade doing this, the number one reason why people either lose weight too fast, lose hair, lose periods if they're women, or they struggle, the number one reason is because they're not eating enough. And somebody said not counting calories is nice. And I agree. However, we need to learn about what we are eating and we need to learn about how much that looks like. And once we learn how much we need, then we release the calorie counting. Because when I first started raw, I had no idea what 2,000 calories looked like on a raw diet. So I started tracking with Chronometer, and I really got to learn how big my salads need to be to actually get 21 to 2,300 calories a day. And now I eat like roughly 2,400 calories a day. That's kind of the average that I do. If we're active, like if we're going to the gym a lot, I'm more towards the 2,700 calorie range. It just depends on activity levels and stuff. But I found that a lot of people have no idea how much they need to eat, and they're constantly under eating. I'll do coaching calls and we'll go over their food journal, and they're eating like 800 to 1,200, and they're like, but I'm eating enough. I'm like, no, you're eating like half what you need. So it's really important to learn that.
Yeah, especially if you're starting out and you don't know, or if you've been on this weight loss journey for a while, if that's been your goal, where you tend to undereat, and our body needs to eat fairly regularly and have enough calories for it to function properly. So it's going to hold it. Like I know in the past, I've under eaten before, and my body actually held on to the weight. It didn't lose it like you'd think. I'm like, I'm not bringing in calories. Why am I holding on to the weight? It wouldn't release it because it was like waiting for that. You know, it's like we're in famine right now.
That's another thing. I'm glad you mentioned that, because that's something that other people notice too, is when they're under eating, anything they do eat, the body is like, store it all, store it all, right? Because you don't know. And then that's why erratic meal times isn't a great thing, because your body is like, I don't know when you're getting next. But when you're eating more regularly and you're making sure you get enough, the body is like, it trusts you. So then, you know, it can release. And
Yeah, the body knows what it's doing.
Oh,
It's like, okay, we're going to be in famine. I'm going to store it because I know, you know, the body knows what it's doing, which is pretty awesome. And you start learning how to figure that out when you start learning all of this and changing your way. And if anyone is looking to get more raw foods into their diet, or they're just trying to transition, or they already are like trying to go vegan or whole food plant-based, we have the vegan health bundle to check out. It's only available until March 10th. It's an amazing bundle of like over 150 items, I think, tons of contributors. It's originally $8,049 and is on sale for $49. So you're saving $8,000 by getting it now. I mean, well, it won't be available again, and you'd have to buy everything separate, and then that would all come out to like over $8,000. So definitely go check that out. That will help you transition. If you're already vegan, plant-based, raw foods, these have like a million, not a million, I don't know if it's a million, but like thousands of recipes. I don't want to.
Right.
But thousands of recipes in there that like are going to blow your mind. I've already made a couple. They're so good. Actually, I want to talk about, before we run out of time, but we can also get back to the health stuff. I want to talk about what you have in the bundle, and then I definitely want to bring up the wraps, because that's like the famous one right now. So.
Right. Oh yeah, the wraps are super popular. And I put the wrap book in this bundle because so many people wanted to get the wrap book in a bundle. So they're like, can you put it in a bundle? Can you put it in a bundle? And I was like, yes, I will put it in the vegan health bundle. So Nate and I have contributed 8 things to this bundle.
Wow.
Value is it's like $692 worth of content that we've contributed, retail price, to this bundle. So even if somebody were to buy all the stuff that we contributed with our regular 40% off code, they still wouldn't get it all for $49. Like, this is one of the best ways to get some of our content. And we like to put a lot of stuff in a bundle because we want people to get access to this. And, you know, we still have to pay our bills. We still have to buy food. But, right, we want to give as much as we possibly can. And that's why I love bundles, because there's so much in them. So in this bundle, what we have contributed is Nate contributed his Kitchen Essentials video course, and that goes through how to set up a raw vegan kitchen and all the tools and stuff that we love to use. And it also goes over how we travel, like our little travel bin and what we have in there when we take it on road trips.
I love that. Traveling is always a tough one for people, right?
Totally. So he's got that in there. He also created a brand new ebook for the Ninja Creamy, which is like the ice cream machine. Yep. And he made raw recipes for the Ninja Creamy. So he has that in the bundle as well. Nice. And then from me, I contributed, that would be 6 things from me. There's a live lunch, which is probably the most popular reason why people are buying the bundle, is for a live lunch. From me anyway, is the 35 hours of video content in there, and
Wow.
yeah, we're going to be selling it after, and what we sold it when we originally filmed it for $330. But we're giving access to people when they buy the bundle for 49 bucks. So
Wow.
that's what a lot of people are really excited about, a live lunch. So what we did was for 21 days straight, we filmed making lunch for 21 days. That's why we called it a live lunch. And we have tips and techniques and tools and health discussions and bonus recipes and all kinds of stuff in these videos. And so each day is like an hour and a half to 2 hours, and we just like to talk and share ideas and tips and everything. And you get to watch us make our recipes in real time. So it's basically, you're just watching, you can follow along. There's a recipe PDF that you can download that has grocery lists every day or every 3 days for you to shop for the next 3 days. And you could follow it along like a 21-day challenge and make raw lunch with us every day. And we also have bonus recipes in there. So even though I have the wrap book in the bundle, there's 3 bonus wrap recipes in a live lunch that are not in the wrap book. And we show how we make the wraps, how we make the burgers, the sushi, our tacos, salads and soups and all kinds of good stuff in a live lunch. So a live lunch is a really important thing that we put in the bundle.
I just wanted to interrupt for a second. I saw you do a live on making sushi.
Yeah.
And I have tried so many times to make raw sushi. It always tastes really good, but I could never get it wrapped and cut nicely. And your live was so helpful. It was so incredibly helpful. So thank you for that. Anyone, go watch her live a couple of lives back. Well, she has a bunch of lives. Melissa has a bunch of lives, but go and watch some of them. There's a sushi one if you're interested in making some delicious raw vegan sushi and doing it nicely, like wrapping it up and cutting it nicely. Watch that one. Okay,
yes,
continue.
definitely. Okay, yeah. And there's sushi in a live lunch too. We make a version of that sushi in a live lunch. And, you know, Nate gets really close up with the camera and stuff. So it's really, really fun. So that's like the big thing that we put into this bundle. But we also contributed Make It Raw, Make It Cooked, which is a video class series that I did with Chef AJ. And we called it Make It Raw, Make It Cooked because I make the raw version of the menu and she makes the cooked version of the menu. So we have an Italian and a Mexican menu, and I made like the Italian meatballs with the marinara, stuffed mushrooms. I made Spanish rice and a raw German chocolate cake, a berry parfait, enchiladas. So that is a video course that I did with Chef AJ. We've contributed that. That was, original price was $197, and we've put that in the bundle too. And then for ebooks, well, before the 3 ebooks, there's 2 months free of my online meal planning app. So if people want a meal planner, I'm offering 2 months free. So if you buy the bundle, download the PDF, sign up for the app, and use the special code to get 2 months free. You can try it out for 2 months, cancel if you don't like it, or continue if you do. And so then for the ebooks, I have the wrap book, which we can talk about after. So 34 wrap recipes, which are super popular and delicious. The tacos, which is another super popular ebook of mine, and Make It Raw 2, which is a raw recipe ebook that I wrote with Chef AJ. I basically took some of her recipes and I made them raw. So I think there's 28 raw recipes in that one. Lots of salads and really cool, unique ways of using raw food. But yeah, in a nutshell.
I mean, just like a couple of your, items alone are worth buying this. I mean, are worth over $49.
Yeah.
So definitely should go check that out. You guys go, both of us have the link in our bio. So you can go to either one of our profiles and go to our bio. You'll see the link right there. Click on it. And if you have any questions, you can DM either of us. We can help you along and send the link directly to March 10th is the deadline. Don't miss out.
Yeah.
So I did want to ask questions about the taco book. I was flipping through. So I have made a bunch of your wraps. I have not made any of the taco shells. I'm specifically talking about the shells. Now, how would you say, like, length of time or, I don't want to say annoyance because I know you enjoy cooking, but someone who doesn't enjoy cooking, I find the wraps, once I made them a couple times, like, okay, this is kind of second nature. I just make sure I weigh everything properly and then I got it down and it's pretty easy. But the tacos are kind of intimidating, I think, because you got to get the little, if you want to make them into that shape. And then how would you rate that against making the wraps?
The tacos are actually easier than the wraps. I know. You know, the thing is, I mean, the wraps are really easy. It only takes me like 12 minutes to blend and pour and get it in the dehydrator. And the tacos are about the same amount of time, but there's just less ingredients in the tacos. With the wraps, I like to start the wraps around 5 o'clock at night. And then I just leave the dehydrator overnight and they're ready in the morning. So that's easy. With the tacos, it's a little different. We like to start the tacos at around 9 a.m. 9 a.m. or 10 a.m. or whatever. And you can make like a triple, quadruple batch and just make a ton of tacos. And then you can store them in an airtight container with an oxygen absorber so they don't get soft. And you can we'll sometimes make a huge batch of tostada shells and we just have them for like a month. Like we'll just be like, you want tacos? It's easier just to whip up a guacamole and a salsa and they're just ready, right? So we like to start them around 9 a.m. because the most important part of the whole process is the flipping part, which happens 10 hours after you spread and put in the dehydrator. So if, you know, we started at 9 o'clock, we get it in the dehydrator, and then usually around, I would say like 7 o'clock at night or 8 o'clock at night, that's about the 10-hour mark. And so right before we go to bed, we peel them off the silicone tray or we like the Paraflex sheets for the tacos, but you can use silicone if you want. So we peel them off and then we either form them into the taco holders or we just flip them and let them sit and have tostadas. So we like the tostadas because, you know, they're easier to travel with because they're just flat.
That's true.
And we like to eat them kind of like a pizza, right? Like a tostada. So those are nice. Like I actually find, I mean, I like both the shells and the tostada, but we find that we typically default to eating more tostadas. So we tend to make more tostadas. They're just easier because you just peel them and flip them, right? And then you just go to bed and then they're done in the morning. So they're pretty easy to do. With the shells, if you want to make the little shells, what we do is that, you know, you put them in at 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock in the morning, and then at 7 or 8 o'clock at night, when you peel them off, you just put them in the taco shell holder, and we like to put a spice jar in the middle to hold them open. Because if you don't put something in the middle, sometimes they'll like fall in on each other. So we like to put a spice jar in there, and then we just let them sit in the dehydrator, and they're ready the next day. So that's what we like to do. And we just use the metal taco holders that you can buy on Amazon or whatever. You just like fit them in there, put your spice jars. Like we have glass spice jars that, you know, are empty and we just collected them over the years. We got like 12, you know, one batch makes 12. So we just put the spice jars in, put them in the dehydrator, right? Usually we have like one tray because we have the 9 tray, the big one.
Yep.
So we'll put like 6 on the bottom and then we put 1 tray and then 6 on the top. And then that's great. So,
oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. So that's kind of how we do it.
I'm asked to use reduced sodium miso. Does it matter?
Yeah, we use reduced sodium miso. But honestly, like with miso paste, I use miso paste pretty much every single day. And we like to get the organic low sodium, but sometimes they don't have the organic one, and we just buy the low sodium one anyway. But miso, Dr. Michael Greger had a video on miso, how for some reason, the soy in the miso counteracts the sodium in the miso. So miso is one of those, you know, special salty foods that doesn't do the same thing in the body as regular straight salt. And that's why I really like to have it in my diet, because I have naturally super low blood pressure. So if I go completely salt-free, no matter how many calories I'm eating, no matter, you know, I feel more lightheaded because my blood pressure gets really low. So I do need a little bit of sodium in my diet, but I like it from miso, whole sources, miso or coconut aminos or fermented foods. Like I make a lot of fermented foods, like fermented radish kimchi, which, by the way, you can get the recipe in the group collaboration ebook that's in the bundle. But I have my kimchi recipe. It's like a radish, Napa cabbage, sunchoke, garlicky, spicy ferment. And I use salt in the ferment to ferment it because it protects against bad bacteria. It keeps the air from getting into the pockets because it releases more water into the ferment. So it is nice to have it. And because you're eating just a little bit of the ferment, you're not eating like a huge amount of salt. So I do not use any other salt on my food. I only use miso or coconut aminos in my meals. So yeah, we don't sprinkle any salt on. The only salt that goes in is in the ferments.
And miso and coconut aminos, is the salt naturally in there already,
It's
or is it added? Do you know?
part of the fermentation process.
Okay, so I'm imagining, just like most other whole foods, that the body knows how to utilize it in the proper way.
Yeah.
So rather than just using like table salt or whatever, adding salt, your body's like, I gotta put that somewhere. I don't know, whereas if you're getting it from the whole food, it's like it knows exactly where the sodium is going here to help with, cramps and leg cramps and, brain fog and dizziness. It knows exactly where it needs to go, right? Or it'll get rid of it naturally.
Yeah, exactly. And we do need
We
sodium.
do.
And a lot of raw foodies will say, well, you can get enough sodium from your fruits and vegetables. And I've tried that. I think it depends on the individual, but I aim to get around 500 to 1,000 milligrams of sodium a day. 1,000 is pretty much the max. But most people walking around are eating over 3,500 milligrams.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's usually in the form of processed table salt.
Exactly.
Usually.
Exactly. And the RDA for sodium, the recommended daily amount that, the nutrition people say, whatever, right? Is 2,300 milligrams. That's considered low sodium in society, 2,300. And I'm aiming for 500 or 1,000. Like, for most people, that's like low salt.
Right.
But like just having a tablespoon of miso in a dressing is only, a couple hundred milligrams. Like, I don't think it's a big deal, but I also don't add salt to all my food. And I used to add a pinch of salt to my cashew cheeses that I would ferment, but I've started adding a teaspoon or two of miso paste instead of the salt. And the end result is way better. I actually went back into my wrap book and I changed the salt to miso because it's such a better, it's more fluffy, it's more creamy.
Well,
I don't know, something about
that ferment kind of flavor to it too, which probably adds to it, right?
Yeah. And I think the koji bacteria in the miso really helps, works in combination with the other bacteria that you add. It's just so good. I'm like, oh, we gotta add miso now. Miso's better.
I'm excited to try. So I've made I've made a bunch of your wraps. And then I started, because I'm not great at following recipes, or I don't have it in the house, but I still want to make something. I'm like, okay, let me just kind of do something that's sort of like what she said, but weigh it out, and I'm still having really great results. But I haven't made, you have like a couple of cashew cheeses in there to like put on spreads and stuff. And I haven't made them yet, but I'm so excited. Like, I'm traveling. When I come back, I'm going to definitely make those. I'm so excited to make those. And I think some of those might have some miso in there.
Yeah, I went back and I changed it in the recipe book. I was like, no salt, use miso, because it's just way better. But I have here, I wanted to do a show and tell. I've got a blue wrap. I'm going to be wrapping these live on Chef AJ tomorrow. Yay. But these are the blue wraps, and I still have it on the silicone tray. I made these last night, and they're ready to go.
Beautiful.
Ooh. Blue wraps.
I made big. That was amazing. I wanted to show this. So I made a full wrap in the same silicone thing, but I cut it in half because I'm still mastering, and I need to ask you for a tip, but I'm still mastering not having it get soggy for traveling. And I know not to put like the sauce on it or anything, but I also use like a lot of avocado instead of like a cheese on the front, and maybe that's making it soggy. So anyway, I cut one in half, and I actually rolled it up like a fruit roll up, and I stored it in a little baggie in the fridge, and it's been good. This is over a week, and it still smells delicious. And this is cut in half, guys, so this is not the full size. Think of another one, but it's still super pliable and smells delicious. And I cut it in half because I just wanted to make a small one the other day. And so you can just I mean, it isn't bundled as nice on the bottom, but you can make a nice little size. It'll probably fall out, but nice little size wrap. Or you can, do them like I normally do, the full size, and then just cut it in half. But so say I want to do, like, should I not add any avocado, or maybe should I tuck it into something first? And then also, I didn't have those fancy little wraps you have. So I tried aluminum foil, which I don't like to put my food in normally anyway, and that didn't really work. And then I tried like a little plastic baggie, but they still got kind of soggy. They're still delicious, but they just weren't the same texture. So what is your trick?
So what were the fillings that you put in there aside from the avocado?
So I did avocado, like I did it, like spread it like cheese, like on the bottom. And then I used different lettuces, spinach and cabbage and romaine. And then I used like red peppers. Trying to think what else I put in there. Oh, I think I put some sunchokes in there, maybe some carrot slices. And then, did I put, one time I put tomatoes in there, but I put it in the middle hoping that would help, but I think it still leaked out some of the liquid. But another time I didn't, but I think maybe I shouldn't have sealed it. I'm not sure.
Okay. So a couple tips for you and everyone watching. When we travel with them, the best spread, avocado is totally fine, but the best spread is the cashew cheese because it creates a little bit of a barrier. It's not foolproof, but it does help a little bit. The avocado
turns brown like avocado.
Yeah, right, totally right. And if you mix the avocado with lemon juice, you're adding more moisture. So like to prevent that. But yeah, the cashew cheese is the best for the barrier. Number 2 would be to use dry lettuce. And I know some people they'll wash their lettuce and then put it in the wrap, but any extra moisture that you add to the wrap can cause that moisture. Number 3, cucumbers and tomatoes are a no if you're having.
I might have added cucumbers.
There you go.
Cucumbers in there.
Yeah. So what happens is when the cucumbers are cut, they start to sweat and they'll they get really, really soggy. I had a friend who made a lot of the wraps and she went skiing, they went on this holiday or whatever, went skiing, and all the wraps that she made were all soggy and she was freaking out. She's like, I made it exactly the way you said it. But unfortunately she used cucumber, and when I found that out, I was like, it was the cucumber. She was like, oh yeah, because cucumber sweats. So does zucchini. I don't really put zucchini in the wraps anyways, but cucumber for sure is going to be one of those iffy ones. I would only use cucumbers, pickles, sauerkraut, or tomatoes if you're eating them right then. If you're wrapping the wrap and you're eating it right away, go for it. You can put all the stuff in it, right? Enjoy the tomatoes and everything. But if you're wrapping them for multiple days, the drier, the better. So when Nate and I make our wraps and we take them traveling, we've had wraps last over 4 days and not get soggy.
Stuffed?
Yes. Stuffed.
Wow.
Yeah. Wow. So what we do is we'll take the wrap and we put the cashew cheese, and then we put our lettuce, and we really layer the lettuce. We're talking layers of lettuce. We can use 1 head of romaine on 2 wraps.
Wow.
We stuff it, right? So we layer it because that helps with any extra water. Then we do shredded cabbage, ribboned carrot. Grated carrot is going to be more watery than ribboned carrot.
Oh.
So use a vegetable peeler and peel the ribbons and use those in the wrap instead of grated. Then we'll do things like red onion is a really great dry ingredient to add. Bell pepper is medium. We've had great results with bell pepper. Even though they are more hydrating, they kind of hold in their hydration a little bit better than, say, cucumbers or tomatoes. So bell pepper is okay. And those are much the base ingredients that we'll add. Microgreens and sprouts are really good, but those wraps tend to be only good for the next day or the day after, because sprouts kind of go bad faster. So we try to, we'll put those in tomorrow's wrap or whatever. We'll do sprouts and microgreens, but those are really great for bulking it up and adding more nutrition, especially sunflower microgreens, because 1 cup of sunflower microgreens has 6 milligrams of iron. So when you have 6 milligrams of iron in your wrap, I mean, why not? pretty much the base. On top of that, we'll put another layer or two of lettuce on top, and then we fold it up and roll it up. And then tip number 4 would be, you cut it, you're exposing all of the water that's going to come out, and it's going to get on the edges of your wrap, and that can make the wrap edges soggy, because once you cut it, you're exposing all that water, right?
Yeah.
So what we have done in the past is we've taken just like a paper towel and folded it in half and put it over the cut part, and then wrapped it in the deli paper, because then at least some of the water goes into the paper towel and not into the wrap.
Right.
And that has helped for wraps that maybe we add, you know, a couple extra, like more watery things that we want, like pickles, for example. We ferment our own pickles, or if we add sauerkraut, just to avoid a little extra, we'll put that paper towel. And then deli paper is key. If you are wrapping it in, like, for example, you have the tin foil and the baggie. So any plastic or anything that doesn't breathe is going to create more moisture inside and cause more sogginess. So I really highly recommend getting the deli paper, or use like parchment paper, like a breathable parchment paper.
Okay.
Can work. A lot of parchment has like the wax on it, and that stifles the wrap. And when you put it in a bag or like a box or whatever, don't seal it, because remember, any extra moisture in the box is going to create more, you know, possible sogginess. So when we pack it for our hiking, we have like these the date containers from Costco, and 2 wraps fit perfectly in one of those date containers, but we don't put the lid on. So we leave the lid off, and we just travel with them with the lid off. And they are, you know, they're breathable. But if you have them next to ice, like if you're traveling and you have them really close to ice, it creates moisture. So we want to keep them away from ice and unsealed, and you should be good to go. So those are some of the top tips that we have for traveling with the wraps. And like I said, we've had wraps. I don't recommend this because it's the fillings that go bad first, but we've had wraps on day 6. We've wrapped.
Oh, really? All bundled up.
Yep, all bundled up and wrapped. But it's because we take care to not have any moisture. And then we add sauce as we eat, because obviously the sauce has water in it. So we try to, you know, and actually adding sauce for every bite is way more enjoyable than having sauce in the wrap anyway.
That's what I was going to ask you. Like, do you just bring like a good sized bottle of sauce and you just pop it on, take a bite like that?
Yep. We have squeeze bottles. So we put them in like little squeeze bottles, and we just like drench it with sauce, because the sauce is good, right? It's fruits and veggies. So yeah.
So in her book, in Lissa's book, oh yeah, we have to wrap this up soon. So she shows you how to make the actual wrap parts, right? But the components that go in the wrap are also in the recipes, are also there. So she shows you, like, there's like smoky barbecue mushrooms, which I think are like my favorite. There's all different recipes in there. And there's the sauce, there's the filling, there's the cheese or whatever you're putting on there. Like, so it's everything. It's not just how to make the wrap itself, which is what I've mostly dived into, but it's to make whole components, and you can make whole meals with all these flavors that she's compiled together. And you can mix and match. I've done the mix and matching too, because I love the smoky barbecue mushrooms. So I put them in like almost everything. But
I know, those are so good. Oh my god.
Yeah. So definitely get the bundle. Go to either one of our bios. We have the link. If you have any questions, let us know, and you won't be sorry. Even if you're not raw food or you're not fully vegan, like, definitely go check it out. I wish we had more time, because I had so many more questions about
you can
your
ask a few more.
A few more?
You can
Okay.
ask a few more. Go for it. Maybe like 10 minutes. We could do it. Yeah, we could do it. Okay, I really enjoyed chatting with you.
Okay, so what is your, like, when you make the wraps, do you guys tend to make like the one recipe, like this wrap goes with this insert and this sauce? Do you tend to do that, or do you kind of mix it up pretty much all the time now that you kind of have it down pat?
We do both. I would say we do more random stuff than we do the exact wraps. The exact wraps that we do is the tuna fish one.
Oh.
That's Nate's favorite wrap in the entire book. He loves that wrap, and I do too. It's like one of my tops. I have ties, right? Like I can't choose a favorite. I really can't choose a favorite, but his favorite is the tuna fish. And we do everything for that one. We make the tartar sauce, we make the filling, we follow it pretty much to a T because, you know, it all works really well together. Another one that we follow pretty much to a T is the pizza wrap because, you know, like fillings add to the pizza-ness of it,
You to
right?
get the
So,
pizza flavor. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. But, you know, for the most part, you know, there's a few other ones that we've made that we really like that we'll make exactly. But for the most part, we're just randomly making wraps and filling them with whatever we want. But yeah, sometimes we'll make, for example, with the bundle, I really want to do this after the bundle because I just haven't had any time to do this. But I want to make like the Burberry burger patties from Daniel McKinnon's book, and I want to make a sauce from Chris Kendall's book, and I want to make, you know, like different things from other people's raw food books and put them in a wrap. Yeah, so that's a really fun thing to do. So if people get the bundle, there's so many other things that you can put in the wrap. Like I wanted last night kind of derailed me because I was on the phone with Nate about some issues or whatever, but I wanted to make there's like these chickpea patties from Sky's ebook that's in the bundle. They're like chickpea patties with like an apricot
Yeah.
jam spicy mix or whatever. They look really good, and I'm like, I want to make those and put them in the wrap. So if I have time tonight, that's what I'm going to be doing. And I also want to make the Burberry sauce from Daniel's Raw Nation book. I love that sauce. That's probably one of my favorites of his. So I want to make that sauce and mix it with the patties. But yeah, for the most part, we make most of the wraps that we make is the everything but the bagel one. And the only reason why I make that one the most is because I have it memorized. So I can go in the kitchen, I have all the weights memorized and all the extra ingredients memorized, and I can just go in the kitchen and make it in like 10 minutes, 12 minutes. So that's the one we make the most, only because I have it memorized. But we went hiking one day, and we love to take the wraps hiking with us because there's nothing more enjoyable for us than to eat a raw wrap on the peak of a mountain after we hiked up for an hour and a half. Like, it's just so
Oh,
awesome.
so satisfying.
Yeah, we take the sauce with us in our backpack and everything. Like, we're prepared. But we did the V8 wrap. And when I originally made the wrap book, we ate all the wraps, you know, as they were for the photos. But after that, we kind of like, you know, life gets busy, and that's when I started defaulting to always making the everything bagel wrap because it was just easy for me to memorize. And so over the summer, I was like, let's make like an actual, like all of the stuff in the wrap, right? So we made the V8 wrap, which we hadn't had for months because we're just, you know, always eating the same ones. And we're on top of the mountain, I'm eating this. I'm like, why don't we make this one more often? Because
I bet after a hike too, a V8 wrap just sounds really like, you know.
Yeah, and the reason why I did it was because we hiked a really intense peak that day. It was like almost a 3,000 foot incline. Like it
Wow.
was a big one. It's a big peak that we kind of were putting off. And then one day we're like, let's do it. So I made that one specifically because it has a lot of beet in it, and beet is an oxygenator for the muscles. So I was like, well, if we have the beet wrap on our hike, like even better. So that's why I chose the V8 one. But you know, whenever we make a special wrap with the special ingredients, we're like, why don't we make that one more often? It's so good. So yeah, we do mix and match.
That's what's really cool about it, because yeah, I think I've made the everything but the bagel and the classic wrap the most. I can't remember the third one that I would made one or two times too, just because I feel like I just always had those ingredients in the house and available, so I was like, okay, those are, I can figure those out, you know. What is what was I gonna say? I keep losing my train of thought. Oh, how did you come up with like the weights of the items and the amount of like chia and psyllium in order to get it to the consistency it needs to get?
Great question. So I tested over 60 recipes to get the 34 that are in the ebook. And I would play around with different amounts of things. Like sometimes, you know, I would notice if I used less sweet potato, it was less dry at the end. If I put a couple extra dates in, it was more pliable. So I kind of played around with the different amounts. And when I was making the wraps, we were getting these monster onions. Like, they were monster onions. They were like the biggest. I mean, not quite the biggest, because right now we have the biggest onions I've ever seen. But here in Vegas, for some reason, we're getting monster onions. So I would use 2 big onions in the wrap recipe because I wanted to have enough fiber to spread over the trays. And I was like, well, you know, let's put a bunch of onions in it. So I would chop 2 of these onions, and then one day, like, I was always using the same size of onions for the first couple recipes. And then Nate brought me home, because he would go shopping and I'd be home like testing recipes. And he brought home more onions, but they were super small. And I was like, oh, okay, well, how am I going to use these ones? Like, if I do 2, it's not going to be enough. And that's when I had the aha moment. I was like, I need to weigh these. I need to weigh these out so that people who aren't getting monster onions, and the monster onions that I have now, someone was mentioning from Costco. The Costco ones are actually here for us. They're actually really small. The monster ones I have now are organic from Whole Foods. I was shocked. I was like, they're like huge onions. But I had a realization early into the creation of the wraps that an onion for me might not be the same as an onion for you. And maybe if you're using like a Fuji apple and it's really small, I might be using a Gala apple that's massive, yeah. Right? So I was like, I need to make sure that people get the exact amount that I want them to have. So I started weighing out the ingredients to make sure that I was getting the proper amount of stuff in the wrap. And that's how the weights came to be, because I didn't want someone to use 2 small onions, because I'd say 2 onions, but it could be 300 grams for you, or it could be 800 grams for me.
Yeah.
Right? It's a huge difference. And it really changes the structure of the wrap when you don't follow the weights. And I've had so many people message me and they'll be like, my wraps didn't turn out, or whatever, you know, they're cracking, or this and that and the other thing. And I'm like, did you weigh the ingredients? And they're like, no, I just used whatever. And I'm like, you have to weigh the ingredients. It's super important to weigh the ingredients so that you get the appropriate amount of wrap batter, so that A, you can cover both the trays, but also B, that you get, you know, the proper combination of stuff. Like for the psyllium and the chia, I tried to keep it as low as possible. And I tried it with less, and I tried it without the psyllium, and I tried it, you know, with just flax or whatever. And certain recipes do better with flax and certain recipes do better with chia. So that's why I have, but they can be interchanged. I've noticed if I make the, kind of like the everything bagel with flax instead of chia, it's drier than if I use the chia. So it's really interesting how, you know, the different ingredients change the final consistency of the wraps. So that's kind of how the weights came to be. And I've had so many people message me and say like, thank you for putting the weights in, because it really takes any of the guesswork out of the recipes.
Yeah, I agree. Because I was doing the same thing. I was weighing my little onions and I'm like, I'm going to need like 5 of these to get I mean, she's talking about, so, but okay, so one last question, because I actually do have to go, but how do you deal, and maybe you're not affected by this, so we love the wraps and they come out amazing, and we love onion and no issues with them, but some of the ones that have a lot of the onion, our eyes are burning sometimes. Like, how do you deal with that when they're dehydrating and your eyes are burning?
Great question. I love this question. So I've been asked this a lot too. And some things that help us and have helped others, there's, I don't know if there's 3 tips, maybe there's more. Number 1, the most thing that helps me is while I'm chopping and blending, I have a huge bowl of water sitting on the counter with me. So yes, exactly. Someone in the chats, place a bowl of water in your kitchen. So when you chop an onion, there's an enzyme that's released into the air. And this enzyme is attracted to hydration. And guess what's usually the only hydration that's around the area, right? Is your eyes. So it's really attracted to the hydration. So if you have a bowl of water or like a wet towel or something around, you can use that. I have also, when I'm chopping the onions, I put them in the bowl of water so that, you know, any of the enzymes can release or whatever. But having a big bowl of water around you is really helpful. Obviously, none of these are guarantees. There's still a little bit sometimes, but it really greatly reduces it. The second thing that you can do is light candles, because when you light a match, the sulfur actually can help inactivate that enzyme. So if you light a match and kind of like move it around after you blend it, because once you blend it, you're like, oh, a lot of the enzymes coming out, right? Yeah, totally. So after you blend it, light a match and just kind of like smudge the area with your match, because the sulfur in the match can help with that. And some people will light the match and then they'll light candles, and this can help. Yeah, see, Martha Stewart said burn a candle. There you go. So yeah, so you can do both. You can have a big bowl of water at your side and you can light a match. And then the third thing that a lot of people have messaged me that they do, they actually have their swim goggles in the kitchen and they just wear them. The only problem with that is that while they're dehydrating, it's still in the air.
Yeah.
So yeah, so you can't really wear them like long term. I mean, it helps for the first initial hit, but the candle and the water tend to be our favorites. And then we'll move the bowl of water closer to the dehydrator. So, you know, when it comes out, we'll use that. But those are some tips. I hope they can help at least lessen.
Yeah, those are great tips. I had never heard of those.
Yeah.
I'm going to definitely try those because I'm loving using all these onions. Good for my microbiota.
Yeah, exactly. And also, before we leave, I really want to heavily encourage people to read the FAQ in the wrap book, because I answer a lot of these questions. I answered the onion question. I answered, you know, typical things like, why does it look like a dry lake bed? Like, why does that happen? And how can I store them? And blah, blah, blah. Like, so I tried to answer all the common questions in the FAQ section of the book, so that, you know, people have a better experience, a better app experience.
Yeah, that FAQ section is really great. And I think you had like a video attached too, so you can watch what they should look like and how the texture should be and when they're done, when they're not done. So it's not just the book with recipes. You're getting everything. You're inside the mind of Lissa.
Exactly. So get the bundle, everybody. You have less than 3 days left.
Yes.
Oh yeah, I love the smell of the house while making the wraps. Me too. That's like my favorite.
It is really nice.
It smell like a restaurant in here.
I know, it is really nice. Okay, March 10th is the last day to get the bundle. Go get it. Both of us have the links in our bio. Thank you so much for joining me today, Lissa. I would love to chat again in the future, and good luck with the bundle because it's so amazing, and I hope everybody gets it, and we will talk again soon.
Yes. Thank you so much. It was such a pleasure.
Thank you. Bye, everybody.
Bye.